Hello again, everyone. Melth here with a very special Advance Wars by Web match today. This is actually one of the first matches that I ever played, so if I seem to know a lot less in this match compared to recent ones, that is why. This was a special match because it was my first ever 2-on-2 match, and I recorded the co-commentary with my lifelong best friend. However, it turned out that there were some audio problems and connection problems that were not evident until I was reviewing the footage later on, by which point the original replay was no longer available to re-record from. So I've spent most of the last year or so slowly salvaging the footage and trying to fix up the missing parts of the audio and doing things like lip reading myself and redubbing things in where audio was lost entirely. So, it might be a little bit choppy, but I think it'll be a good video. I hope you enjoy it. Hello again, everybody. Melth here, or Matt for today, because I'll be doing this one with my best friend Anthony as our first ever co-commentary on Advance Wars by Web.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is I've been watching your Let's Plays and what you got to Advance Wars by Web. And I used to try to get me to play Advance Wars on the Game Boy Advance, and 2 or 3 games we played, you whooped me, and now I'm at a little redemption, 15 years later.
At that age, I had not yet learned a very, very important strategic lesson, which is that if you're introducing somebody to a new game, don't win too hard the first couple times. You can do more winning over the long term if you, give them a chance to get their feet under them. So I hadn't really learned that lesson at that stage of life yet, I don't think. But I saw a few of your games, and I think you were pretty good at this.
I learned a life lesson really early on too, and that's don't play Matt in strategy games. And I've been playing other people, and I've been doing okay. So that's what I learned. But no, I started playing. I go, you know what? I remember this game being pretty fun, besides the walloping, and gave it a go. And it's a lot more. It's a lot more complex than I thought it was. Back in the day, I used to just go for the tanks because I thought they looked cool.
Me too, pretty much. Neo-tanks, bombers. I mean, and that works really well against the AI, but against a human being, it seems you need different strategies. Well, we thought we would do our first ever co-op match, 2-on-2, with just whoever we could pick up randomly for a game here. And we ended up paired with 2 folks here. I think one is Dizon and one is Rixers. My estimation now, looking back on the game, is that probably Dizon and I might be at a similar level of experience. He's maybe played more games. I might have a little bit more background than him from single player. And Rixers, I think, is relatively inexperienced. It was maybe more comparable to Anthony at the time of playing this game. We had one crucial advantage, is that, of course, we were just, collaborating from the beginning, or even from before the beginning. And I don't know how much they were talking to each other during the game.
I think that shows, but that's a little spoiler. But yeah, I think we had a little good. Our team comp was pretty good. That's definitely an advantage. I know if I was playing with a stranger, I'd be afraid of them trying to take some of my bases, and I'd probably beef up. I'd beef up that border a little bit more and try to take those cities a little bit sooner than if I knew the person I was playing with wasn't going to take my resources. Exactly.
But yeah, we were planning this out from the beginning pretty much. And I think it was your idea kind of what COs we went with. I think you had mentioned that you wanted to play a new one called Sasha, who I don't think has been on my channel at any point up until this. And I thought that sounds pretty cool. Let me come up with some kind of way we can make Sasha work. So, why were you interested in playing Sasha? She's a very good CO, of course.
Yeah, I was playing some of the some of the broken COs, and I was trying to dial it down a little bit, and I saw that her, I guess it would be the superpower, the 3-star superpower. I'm still trying to figure out the names of this stuff. Just looked really interesting. Looked like it could be a lot of damage if you kind of stockpile some money. So even though she's not a broken class tier, I think there's a way to kind of get that superpower kind of beefed up and do some damage with it. So I was thinking about her. I'll go into the seal a little bit. So Sasha receives 100 more income per property, and as everyone knows, every property in the game, you get 1,000 income per turn. So just 10% more income for every property you own. Her 1-star superpower reduces the enemy's power bar by 10% per 5,000 funds.
10% of their maximum, that is. If you have, I think, 50,000 in funds, it'll take any CO power from from 100% down to 0% no matter what, which is pretty sweet. But go on about her superpower, yeah.
Okay. Okay, all right. And then the superpower is I receive funds equal to 50% of the damage dealt when attacking me. What's this guy that you're playing?
We might have gotten disconnected there, unfortunately. Yeah, so when you proposed to play Sasha, I thought that's a great pick for CO. I'd never played a team game before, but I immediately thought Sasha would be good for that because of her unique CO power that can negate, I think, any number of opponents' CO power gauges, basically. So I thought, well, okay, in that case, we're going for a high tier match because Sasha is high tier. Well, in that case, maybe I'll play as the high tier CO Hawk. Now, I'm not any kind of expert in the high tier meta, this is my first game playing it there, but I thought Hawk is a really, really strong but slow superpower. It just kind of nukes the entire map, every enemy everywhere takes 2 damage, and all of his guys heal up by 2. It's very strong, it's also very, very expensive, and so often Hawk's biggest weakness is that he takes a long time to charge that up, and in the meantime, the enemy can just kind of run riot with their own superpowers once, maybe 1.5 times. So I thought, okay, if Anthony can buy time for me, using Sasha to negate the enemy's CO powers, I can use my pretty strong Hawk day-to-day of having plus 10% firepower in every single type of unit to just have a decent day-to-day advantage, and then unleash it on the enemy on both of our sides, hurting the guy Anthony's fighting as well as the one I'm fighting at the same time with my superpower, and then hopefully we can crush them from there. And we'll see how it worked out in practice. Alright, shall we get it going?
Let's see how this goes.
So, I'm playing as... Yeah, I'm playing as the purple... I don't know, what purple whatever. Purple French people, purple people eater, something like that.
French.
I'm playing as the purple guys here. So I'm player 1, Anthony is player 4 in the top left, and our opponents are players 2 and 3. I think those are the recommended settings for this map we found, which looks like a pretty interesting one. I think it was one of the most played 2-on-2 maps on the site, from what I'd seen at the very least. It looks like it's a fairly small funds map, just kind of looking at it. Each player will get about 16,000 income per turn, roughly. So not that much. So kind of on both sides, the less experienced person is fighting against the more experienced person, and we'll see how it goes, basically. So I just built 2 infantry, that's about all I do for now. I think Deason will do the same thing on his turn, probably. And I'm betting basically everyone just do the same thing. But Rixers and Anthony each have 1 starting infantry, and Rixers gets aggressive with his and just goes across the river immediately, which I think that's what I would do, certainly. And that is what Anthony did, too. So, good move.
Do the same.
So on my turn, I think I'm going to again do the same thing of walking toward the base and going across the river. So you can kind of see that Dizon and I have a mirror setup, and Anthony and Rixers have a mirror setup too. And it's not like all 4 corners are exactly the same. For example, Anthony and Rixers, but not Dizon and I, have an airport that is quite close to one of our bases, which would be good for doing T-copters, for example. So I thought about T-copters, I thought they'd be pretty good for this map, but I can't really use them as efficiently because my airport is all the way over there in that corner, where I can't get to it fast and where it's far from my bases. So I think I'll do my usual thing though, I will get aggressive, grab the middle properties first, and then take a leisurely march out to the ones that are safely on my side. So I'll have maybe an income disadvantage for a little bit, but I'll hopefully have good positioning. Looks like Deason's kind of doing the opposite approach of going for the easy money first, which makes some sense. You can get to good units out faster that way. And what does Rixers do? Looks like he's also mostly going for easy money. And here he does something very unusual though, and very aggressive. So he skips building an infantry, and builds an immediate recon. Now, I think I've mentioned before that I am just not that impressed by recons as a general rule. It will surprise me, it will catch me off guard with this absurdly early recon, but it won't really amount to much, as usual for recons. Okay, so what do you do this turn? Looks like you are going for the base as usual, and just the conservative
build infantry and...
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So what was your strategy going into this? I think I've already kind of explained mine more or less.
Yeah, so it was kind of thinking stall, because you and Dizon, I think we knew going into it, were pretty evenly matched. I didn't feel very confident that I was going to be able to take him over, but I knew if I stalled him enough, maybe you'd be able to come up and save me later on in the game. That was my thought most of the game.
Good team strategy,
It
certainly.
was. There we go. But definitely from the games I've seen you play before, it's get the tough cities early. You can always go back and get the easier ones. So just a basic. Let's see what he does. Just try to counter.
Sounds smart to me.
I wouldn't think of anything too crazy. Yeah.
So that one
Looks
I do
like
go back to
you,
grab the money there, because I feel like I don't want to pass up a city that's right next to me for too much longer. But other people keep going across the river too. I feel like, to my mind, it makes sense to grab a city that's in immediate reach immediately, or almost immediately. But it doesn't make as much sense to go walking multiple turns off backward when I can be walking forward instead. So I'm kind of striking a balance there, I guess. I don't know if it's the right balance, but it's the one I was trying to strike between grabbing the money that's available now versus getting people into the middle faster. So Deezon, I think, is doing... He gets across the river now. Kind of the river, I guess, marks like when you're getting your infantry aggressively deployed, I suppose, for each of us. And he builds an early recon too, but not quite as early as Rixer's. So they're both going to have a lot of vision, they'll both have the ability to harass us early on. But, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I just don't feel like early recon harass really amounts to that much, most of the time.
Especially when we have mountains. This many mountains here. I think vision. We each get a couple mountains.
For vision, the mountains will really help a ton. And it's not like the terrain is really that good for recons. Sure, there are some roads, but the roads often kind of involve running backwards a lot too, right? To follow the roads, whereas a tank can just go over those plains and really save some time. When people talk about recons being fast, I often just kind of shake my head about that, because 90% of the time I think tanks will be as fast, if not faster, than recons.
Anti-airs are even faster. I think.
I guess they're on par with the tank, so yeah, they're similar, they're as fast as a tank, and that means they're usually faster than a recon. Yeah, I guess the only exception is if you have like a very, very long, conveniently straight road leading right to the enemy. Under that circumstance, a recon is going to be faster, but like, how often does that really happen? If there's any bends on the road, it stops being as good as a tank, you know? So what does Rixer's do? Okay, so as we'd expect, more or less, with this aggressive recon, he gets back to playing normally from here. So I mean, it's a strategy. I don't think it's a good strategy, but it's certainly one I can understand what he might be thinking. And I can respect his aggression, his attempt to just get in the middle and start harassing early, because that's how I like to play a lot of games. I just wouldn't sacrifice an infantry for it, I don't think. And what did you do this turn?
Especially when it has that military base right there. Could turn.
You're right, could have kind of waited and built it from there.
I get my military base. I guess I go for a little easy money with that last infantry there.
Because I think if you look at the map, kind of, so that city you just took or started capturing is within one infantry movement of another city, right? Which is very efficient. Whereas the one that's kind of south of it that you could have taken instead isn't next to anything else. So you kind of will make a little bit more money overall this way than you would taking some other path. It's not like a big difference, but it'll maybe net you an extra 1,000 or so gold, or whatever the currency is supposed to be. Advance Wars bucks.
Probably 1,100.
Oh, you're right, 1,100. All the more reason. That's not a small advantage, though. Like, having 10% more income all the time, that's a pretty strong bonus.
Right.
Okay, so I think this turn I probably go across the river mostly with a lot of my guys. Just kind of try to press in there and start threatening to take his stuff. And I'm still, no recons for me, nothing special for me. I'm just going to save my money. I'm going to build my tanks the way I usually would do things, basically. I think that's about it. So I think this turn we're all getting our extra base. The recon's kind of making its way to the front. Nothing else really to talk about, I don't think, for another round or so. Deezon might reveal me this turn. No, not quite. Okay, yeah. Doesn't reveal me. So he makes a choice there, which I think will cost him. So his infantry in the city across the river, it walked north instead of walking west. Now, nothing wrong with that move necessarily. But I've kind of noticed, I didn't know it going in, but watching the way this map unfolded, I feel like that that very top and that very bottom city, kind of, it's like partly surrounded by mountains, are very easily contested by the other player. And if you don't run full speed toward it, they will tend to get there first, just with any kind of natural build order. Whereas the one he walked to instead, I'm less likely to be getting in his face about. Plus, I guess maybe he has his recon there to cover his infantry, so I can't harass him or something. Maybe that's his thinking. But I think he would have been better served just walking toward that southernmost property and trying to grab that.
You get a little vision when you jump on that too.
That's true. If you get into the mountain, you get some vision.
Oh, what we got here? I think I do the correct move here.
You're going right for it, yeah.
Towards that. Yeah.
I think at this point, we might have been talking about this idea too. Oh yeah, there's the first tank, so that's great. You're able to get a tank out earlier because you have that extra income, so that gave you enough to afford an infantry and a tank this turn, so go Sasha. But yeah, we were talking about the idea of maybe I can go ahead and grab that city, and then... Well, you'll see later on what we do to protect it, because it is kind of exposed as you can see. The mountains mean Anthony can't reinforce it with anything but infantry, but we came up with a plan. You'll see how it unfolds. So my turn, I've been saving my money for a while. I think this turn I can finally get myself a tank if I want to. So. Keep fanning out. I might look a little bit aggressive with the infantry across the river there that walked into his recon range, and I could have stayed on the missile platform or gone into the wood or something like that. What I was thinking was I want to get onto that mountain. I have to walk this direction to get onto the mountain. It does leave me exposed though. Well, to this guy's credit, he caught me off guard. I did not expect a recon this early. Thought there'd be one more safe turn until one could possibly show up. Okay, so Dizon's turn. Notice that he's taking a slightly different capture route than I am with regard to his southern properties / my northern properties. I notice it's an interesting string setup where if I go for my airport first, I can then grab the middle of the 3 properties and then the one on the right and go from there. It's all going to be perfectly efficient, basically. And it'll get me the airport faster too, and I love battlecopters. He went for the middle city first, which I think will be a little bit less efficient overall, but not a big difference.
And now he's got his tank up there too.
Yes, he made an interesting choice with his recon, which is that he kind of ran it, well, that is, Dizon did this, running it south instead of along the roads there. So he got an early recon, but he's not really scouting with it. Because there's no possible way I would be over there where his recon is right now. Like, it just couldn't happen. And you couldn't be there either, it's too far from you. So I feel like he wasn't really scouting much with it there. He was hiding in the woods, which is normally good, but it's just not doing anything for him. And if he's going to harass with it, I think that the faster he gets into position, the better. Okay, so here he does surprise me. I was not expecting this, but Richard just drives up and just shoots my vulnerable infantry. And that, I will admit, it's a setback. I lose 2/3 of an infantry, and I can't safely capture things anymore, and I can't get onto the mountain either. So, good job for him there. But it came at a price. And likewise, going for that city that his infantry is now capturing came at a price too. Here he makes, I think, what was a questionable move and builds himself... Yeah, I think Anthony sees the same thing. Not one, but 2 APCs. Now, 1 APC, I could definitely agree is a good option for this map. I think the map really has a lot of congested terrain that infantry can use some help getting around. So I could definitely agree with building an APC. But 2 APCs, I think, is excessive. That's a lot of money to spend on that. Mm-hmm.
So in your last video, the 2 transport copter meta.
The new meta, yeah.
He's trying to spin something else. This is it.
Yeah, I think that kind of cost him like a tank you could have had by just building 2 APCs, and that's excessive, I think.
Right.
But yeah, good job. You're going for that city, which should rightfully be Dizon City. I think you can kind of draw like a vertical line down the map between, right down the middle, pretty much, of whose property should be whose, and you're getting one of his now. So it's going to be on him to take that back, or he'll be at a permanent disadvantage, basically. And here, I think a smart move building that artillery.
That was the plan, I think, with defending that city.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 turns movement to get up there, just bombard with mountains protecting me.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about that, and I thought, that's going to be nice if we can get that going.
Mm-hmm. And it worked out very well money-wise too. You had like exactly enough to make it work out, spending all your funds.
And at this point, I pretty much have. There's 4 cities I need to capture to get my fair share of cities, and then one.
Mm-hmm.
So this stall technique is looking good, and I have all the aggressive kind of cities.
Yes. So my turn, I'd need to figure out what to do about this recon. This is kind of the first move where I need to think this game. So I advanced toward that city, first of all, in the south. And in the meantime, I'm thinking, how do I deal with this recon? I can't capture things near it without it interrupting me and shooting at me. My tank can't really get in position to reinforce me in most places. It can protect people in that city, so I go for that capture, but I can't really protect anybody else. So my thought is I will screen for that infantry with my injured guys so that he can't stop it. And then if he tries, I can then drive the tank up, depending on his positioning, and shoot him from there. But I did have limited options, admittedly. And then I'm mostly going to just build, I think, infantry this turn because I don't have enough money to build something more interesting, since I'm not playing as Sasha. So Dizon's turn here. I think it's his first chance to probably spot you, depending on how he moves his recon. Maybe I'm miscounting about that, we'll see. But notably, he's still not seeing that you're capturing his stuff, and he can't stop you from doing it anymore.
Nothing.
Like, if he'd been more aggressive with his recon, he might have spotted the capture going on now, and he couldn't interrupt it, but he'd at least know in time to do something about it, maybe. But he's going to get that as a surprise, I think. Oh, and here, it looks like he skipped building there to build a tank, so kind of... He was in the same position I was, right? Where I thought, I can build infantry or I can build a tank. Well, I'll go for the infantry. He went for the tank. And, you know, I can see an argument for that, because he already has most of his stuff at this point, as far as he's aware, right? There's like 2 or 3 things left on his side, on the opposite side of the river he hasn't captured yet, so maybe he feels like he doesn't need infantry so badly, and he'll get everything else eventually. I can understand that argument. But I feel like infantry are going to be good for a lot of fights, so I would probably not pass it up myself. Okay,
And now we got,
And yeah, Richter now sees me and I see him, and he has to just go for the capture enemy now that he's exposed. You could have had this already, but now instead I'm going to be able to attack him. Loads up, and I guess he doesn't drop off. Just kind of loads up. But he goes through this airport now. He and I are both going to go for some early battle copters, I think, as you'll see. So, he agrees with me on that, at least. Other APC is just empty. Just nothing in it. But he pulls back his recon, which I think is smart, because, like, yeah, if I was him, I would suspect this is probably bait. There's almost certainly a tank waiting for me out there. If I attack, I'll probably kill infantry and then die, which is not a good outcome. So I think he was being intelligent to pull back. He couldn't interrupt a capture, so just keep the recon alive needs it for its proper purpose of scouting. Doesn't choose to reinforce himself in the south there, I guess. Just kind of moves up towards his middle
especially when you could have just went into that forest.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Then I turn just... This just scooting up.
Mm-hmm. And yes, so far I think you can't see Dizon. He can see. I guess now I can see him. You can now see he has a tank, and you can see he has an infantry capturing. So that's good. Some good intelligence there from those mountains. The mountains are scouting you, more useful than the recon really, because the recon's only been the infantry so far. And you built yourself a mech this turn. Want to talk about that?
So I think it was after I saw that tank, the mech up there. Just someone who can cross the river and support that artillery when finally gets into position.
I think it's a good choice. Mechs are good at crossing rivers and mountains super fast, and they're cost-effective counter to tanks, which will need to fight up in that top area if he wants to use his tank to stop you. So, I think a good cost-effective decision there. Alright, so I get a whole bunch of captures this turn, so the money is going to start rolling in. But more interestingly, I'm attacking in the bottom there. Now, as Hawk, with a 10% attack bonus, I had about a 50-50 shot of killing his infantry there. So I got it, and I went for the capture against what should be my city, basically, but I'm going to actually get it for sure. They're able to scout and re-reveal his recon, which is interesting to me. He didn't hide it in the wood. And I keep my tank somewhere where he can't easily see it, even if he gets a guy into the mountains nearby. I don't know that it doesn't have a guy hiding in that wood, for example, that could do that. So I'm trying to keep the tank a nasty surprise for him. And I saved most of my own money this turn. I could have built a tank, but I just built a mech instead. I think I see an interesting string of terrain there near that base, where I can walk 2 squares into the wood, so hidden. Walk 2 squares into the mountain, so suddenly vision and good defense. 2 more squares into the next mountain, so again, vision and good defense. It's a very natural path for a mech to take, I think. To get into the middle, having been either hidden or well defended all the way, and then just start causing problems. But the other thing is I'm also thinking about how I want to build myself battle copters, so I'm saving money for that. Okay, so Dizon needs to decide what to do about your infantry who's capturing his thing in the top, which he hasn't, I guess, noticed yet, but he will soon. He goes for his safe capture still. He's got almost everything. And now he runs in very aggressively. attacks you right there. And he gets some good intelligence before he gets blown up. So, because he's Hawk, he was almost guaranteed, I think, to reduce you to 4 HP there, so better than most people do. I think most people's recons would reduce infantry to about just 5 HP, which doesn't really slow a capture down that much. It slows it down by 1 turn. So, you know, being Hawk, he got some mileage out of that, slowed it down by 2 turns, but it's still just not that great. And he made an interesting choice of building an anti-air over there. He can see that you have a tank and an artillery. Now, if I see that, I would think Battlecopter. He doesn't have his airport yet, so he can't build Battlecopter. But I would think Battlecopter, then if that doesn't work, I think, okay, I'll build a tank in that case. This anti-air, you know, it's good to have him before the Battlecopters show up, but it's not going to be the fight well against a tank or an artillery. So I'm not sold in that decision. It also meant he couldn't build an infantry, he had to skip a base again. So I think he's really passing up a lot of unit count now. I think you can see, like, you know, he and I should have the same unit count, but I'm at 17 and he's at 12. Because he's passed up too many bases.
And I guess he still can't even see me in that city. He sees me in the mountains, so I guess he assumes, or I guess he has to assume that I'm in the city. There's no reason I'd go on that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so he has to, you know, he has, you know, 10 times more matches I do. So maybe he's got a plan involved.
Mm-hmm. So the APC does drop off that infantry, so that's good, I guess. The other one is empty, though. It's just like a pointless APC. I don't know why he built it. But he goes up there, and so he surprises me. He took some bait there, I feel like. He drove up at a turn where it was even less safe than before and shot that infantry. So now he's totally exposed, and now he's going to just get killed by my tank. But in the south, it makes kind of a hard push with this infantry to try to interrupt my capture and cause problems. And, you know, he'll hold the line there pretty well for a while. Gets his own first tank. He and I were very light on tanks all in all. Usually I'm all about the tanks, at least in my last 2 games, but this time didn't go for so many. When I say last 2, I mean my 2 is last. I built lots of tanks. I think by the time you guys are seeing this one, I'll have had some other video where tanks will not have been my main thing. Yeah, so what are you doing this turn, Anthony? Oh, nice.
So
nice.
on that recon.
Mm-hmm. And covering for the tanks, so if he had one,
sure
he can't do a thing to you.
Get that airport.
And another tank. Nice choice. So we kind of, in a way, I guess, got an extra turn here in a way, where... Yeah, I would have expected him to notice by now that he's stolen his city pretty much, but he still hasn't noticed it as far as we can tell, and he still hasn't done a thing about it. And that kind of meant that you didn't need to walk that artillery this turn. You could have it just fire away from where it was, which is great, because it killed the recon easily.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go for that nice string of cities that I saw. Here I decided, actually, never mind, I'll go for one of them with an infantry who's in the area already, and just get the money faster. And I just start slugging it out, shooting his guys from the mountains and just drilling what he's got. My infantry are better than his by a little bit. You know, I didn't really talk about his CO, actually, come to think of it. So he's playing as Adder, who's a much lower tier CO. That said, like, it's not like he's like a bad CO. He's good at certain things, and in the mid-game he can have advantage against me even, because he can have his CO power long before I can get mine, and it charges up so fast that even Sasha can't really interrupt it. So if he wanted to, he could maybe get some nasty moves with that. But generally I'll have the advantage over him by having the attack bonus when he has nothing day-to-day. Yeah, so there I think, well, this is perfect. I will just kill off his recon, so it accomplished very little, and then I'll just screen for my tank and go back to scouting on that mountain. So his 4,000 cost recon, I guess, kill the 1,000 gold infantry. So not the best trade. And I get my first Battlecopter. I love Battlecopters. I think this map is pretty good for them too. But you can see there's a lot of heavy terrain like rivers, mountains that make it hard for anti-airs to get around. And I'm also thinking, you know, later on in the game, if I want to help out Anthony, I've kind of got to have a Battlecopter to get over that middle area and get over to where he is. So for that reason, I'm going to build several of those, I think.
I'm pretty sure at that moment I saw that Battlecopter up there. I go, you know what, we're looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The you know, just moving something like that. I was pretty good with the capture and that Battlecopter.
Mm-hmm.
So, so far so good.
Decent once again pulls ahead of me on income. I think as he captures those things. He's been ahead in income a lot, but and he's used it to build some vehicles, but he hasn't really used it to build like, enough infantry, so he's not going to really be able to keep up the pressure. And he's very slowly moving into that top city that's been in your hands for a lot of turns now, really. But there he goes. He sees it, and he goes ahead and fires. So, you know, he hurt your infantry there, but what's that really going to accomplish? Because you can just pull it back and replace it as long as you need to. And we know that he doesn't have a guy in range to capture it this turn anyway, because this guy is a couple turns off. But let's see what Rixers does, now that he's lost his recon and can't see anything. So he goes for the capture, and just keeps exchanging fire, but I've got firepower bonuses on a mountain, and he's not, so it's just not really a great engagement for him. He has numerical superiority, but he has train inferiority and unit quality inferiority. And there, he reveals his tank to me. Now, he is admittedly covering it, so it's not safe for me to attack it, except that it actually kind of is. Because notice where his tank is next to. It's next to a forest, right? Now with forests, you can't attack people in forests unless you have vision of them. You can't get vision of them unless you're right next to them. And so if I just attack him from that forest, and then block the mountain and block the rear side of it, he can't bring up his new tank and attack me because he won't be able to see me until he's already right next to me. So he basically can't defend his tank as well as he would think, probably. So I think he kind of made a little bit of a mistake there that I can now take advantage of. What does he do with his APCs, which are both empty now, I think?
Empty, got the battlecopter.
He hides it.
Flying his infantry.
Yeah, it's just... Maybe he's new, doesn't know what APCs are for. I don't get this. I would be using them to go back and grab more
Flying
infantry.
that full tank.
Mm-hmm.
So we march northeast.
And yeah, you switched off your force guy to just do scouting duty, and you're able to sneak your artillery up, because we see where his guy is on the mountain, but you're able to hide the artillery from him, I think. And, hide the tank too, so he can't see any of this stuff from his mountain perch. If his recon was still alive, it might have been able to scout things. I think recons are good, they're just, I wouldn't build them early. I would build them, like, you know, after my tanks, so that they can scout for the tanks or something. You're moving in with a ton of guys there. I think you now outnumber him by about 50% because you built things every single turn and he hasn't. So I think you have about 21 to his 14. That's going to make a difference. You'll have an easy time walling with infantry. He can't do that. You've got your own first anti-air there. I think it's a good choice too, being ready for battlecopters, which could disrupt the strategy.
They're my favorite unit. So.
They are, I think, one of my favorite units too. They're not that great, but I do love them. Okay, so I'm getting my captures. So at this point, I think I have pretty much all my stuff now. I think there's one city maybe that I'm missing. But I'm able to just go up and just start attacking him all over the place. Blocking him, killing his infantry, moving in more guys. I know I won't get this capture, but I'm kind of just trying to give him too many things to do, so he's forced to bring his tank over there and attack that or something like that. That's my thinking anyway. Not sure it was a great idea. But, you know, my Hawk advantage day to day and like superior engagements early on are really tilting things on my way pretty fast, I think. On the other hand, I am kind of exposed here. My tank has no backup. If he had a battlecopter and somebody to reveal me, I would be in deep trouble here, because I just don't have any coverage. But I just kind of saw, like, I see a good engagement here where I can deal half damage to a tank, I'll just go for it. Take that risk. And I built another battlecopter, as you can see. Gonna go hard on the battlecopters. Okay, so Dizon, he gets his captures. So I think he now has every city he's going to get, basically. He should have 15, but he only has 14. And you know, because you're a little bit slow in capturing your easy money stuff, you don't have much more money than him, but you will soon. And so he's going to be on the back foot for a while now. And he's not going to have an easy time capturing that city because he let you have too much time to set up and get fences around it. But he's moving with a lot of vehicles in it. I think he does have like the local numerical superiority of number of vehicles, having passive all his infantry to build more of them. So that is one thing he's got. And his first battlecopter too, come to think of it. We didn't see that for many more turns, so we had no idea that it was there, but he got it up pretty early. So Rixers just keeps exchanging fire with me, but I've got the mountain, I've got everything. So he's... Yeah, if he'd gone all in there and brought in everything he had, he could have probably overwhelmed me, but he brought just like a few infantry and let off the pressure eventually, so he just lost a lot of infantry for not much gain. Alright. So there I see his battlecopter. Again, I think just it's a pattern in every game that I've played, that people really reveal their battlecopters to me without any need to do so. I think it's not a good thing to do. I keep mine pretty secret most of the time, and that usually works out really well for me. But like, every single opponent I've had pretty much just revealed their battlecopters to me. And here, I don't know what he was thinking. Like, he knew I was in that forest, and then he just walked up and got himself blocked. Now, I see this APC, so I think, oh, that's good for me. I see this tank, I guess, now, too. That's not so good for me. But I think now, okay, I know why I'm winning here. I'm winning because he has APCs instead of having fighting units. That kind of explains why I've been safe so far. Building this APCs meant he didn't have tanks. Like, a picture of those were tanks. I'd be in some trouble at this point. I have, like, about 3 tanks to my 1 tank. I'd be forced to pull back at the very least and then reinforce myself. It wouldn't cost me the game, but it would certainly set me back a long way. And there I see, wait, he has not 1, but 2 APCs? What? I just naturally assumed that there's now a guy in that forest. Oh, sorry, go on. Can you repeat that?
I was gonna say, I remember we both saw that. We go, man, that's a melon scratcher back then.
Mm-hmm.
For that one.
I assumed just put a guy into that forest there to kind of get my rear props or something like that, but turns out, no, he just... I don't get it. I think he's probably new, but even so, I don't get, like, what is he trying to do here? In any case, your turn, Anthony. What will you do this turn?
See, I think the setting up that artillery, it's
perfect.
now in position, and right there, that's the 1-2 blow.
Mm-hmm.
I think with that there, that was move, vision, defense, and I got that tank backed up in the forest. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, there's no good way for him to get through this wall anymore.
At this point, I don't even see anything near him. Just those 2 infantry, looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And once I get that last my southwest base, that's, what was it, 16 of the 15 cities?
Yep. And so you being in Sasha, you'll have an extra... Or, no, you'll have, we have 17? I'm confused, actually. But you'll have more than your share, basically, plus your Sasha bonuses, so it'll be pretty sweet.
After that, just...
And you've got a great wall up there in that north area. You've got, like, tanks that mutually cover each other. The mech covers both tanks. Artillery covers everything. That he's Hawk. His anti-air could break down your wall. It could, instantly kill your infantry. Then he could, bring his tank up and shoot your artillery. True. He could do that. But then he'd immediately lose himself to anti-air and his tank at the same time, so it would not be worth it. So, great defenses you're building up here. And you've got your own first battlecopter. Everyone's building some battlecopters, which are, as I said, I think a good choice in this map. But I have the most battlecopters. I'm the battlecopterist. Okay, so I've now won things pretty decisively in that southern front, I think. So I'll switch infantry around to finish off his injured guy there. I also scout that forest and see that there isn't anybody in it, so I'm not sure what he was going for there anymore. I rotate back to get heals. I'm always trying to keep as many guys alive as possible. Especially when there are battlecopters coming. And my battlecopter is placed such that I know he can't possibly reveal me. Even if he had infantry in place to go into the nearest possible mountains, he can't get it in range to quite reveal it. Not until it's too late, basically. And I build a third battlecopter. So if Richters has an anti-air, I'm in a bit of trouble, but my thinking is that in that case I'll shift my battlecopters north to help Anthony out instead. Or just try to use my tank to take out his anti-air if I can. If he makes a mistake, I'll do that. So D-Zone gets some good vision there. And he can now see what his options are, I guess. He probably sees that he can attack with the anti-air, but he's not going to do so since it's a losing proposition, like we said. He would break the wall. He'd take out half an artillery, but then he would lose a tank and an anti-air and maybe other things too. So he takes out your scout, then he builds his own wall and brings up his own units, but he's not going to be fast enough here. And there he once again base skips, but he builds himself a rocket. We didn't know he would get this out so fast. It was a surprise when we saw it, I think. That's the ultimate long-range unit, and it is a good choice to break this stalemate. But it's also a lot of money to sink into one unit. It costs 15,000, and it's only good for this one purpose. I'm not sure it was the best choice. Okay, so Richters and I keep fighting in the bottom, and he has his APCs, but they can't do anything, so I'm not really sure their goal. I don't understand. I just can't grasp his strategy here. And I was thinking, okay, he's not going to take the bait. He's not going to drive his battlecopter in. There's no way he's going to do that. There's only 3 HP infantry there, and then he goes ahead and does it. And I go, okay. That was the ideal outcome. I get to snipe his battlecopter first strike with my battlecopter. My plan could not have gone any better. It's not even covered by his existing copter. It's just a loss for him.
I get my final city, at least early game. Just maintain that northern city. Try to build up that wall a little bit more. I get my my first MD tank.
Nice.
So.
Easily affordable because you're Sasha, so you're able to get that and still have money to build 2 infantry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is going really well for us, as we look at things at this point. The stalemate now favors us. Like, I know that, you should have like about 18,000 income. Your opponent has at most 15,000. My opponent has I don't know exactly what he's got, but no, he doesn't have some of those neutral cities. So I'm going to have 15,000, he's going to have less than 15,000. So like, the stalemate now favors us. Plus, we already kind of wanted the strategy of me building up my superpower slowly anyway. So it's really looking good so far. So what do I do this turn? Let's see.
And we have a 25 turn game limit, or a 25 turn limit as well. As long as we hold strong, we got that as well.
That's a great point.
My last game I played, I'm so glad I put that limit on. I didn't even notice that was something we could do. I was going from 9-hour games in real time. Now we're at like 5, so it's a little more manageable.
Mm.
But oh boy, great. I'm glad this is the game that showed me about those limits. So
that reminds me of another point. This one we played live play. We're playing in real time pretty much here with 5-minute turns. So very, very fast back and forth. So we couldn't really think things through as thoroughly as I usually would, but it was pretty good. That might explain some of the questionable moves people are making too. Just they didn't have time to think about it, possibly.
Right. I know you and I were talking through the next turns and watching the map. We could see that everyone else was kind of jumping off the game, jump back in. So we're semi-invested. So we're working even less than 5 minutes. Going over some of the stuff. No excuse.
So I don't have much else to do. I start shooting his APCs because they are at least blocking me. But here, I go for it. I take out this battlecopter. It's ruined. So that was a huge blow to him right there. Put some chip damage on with my infantry. It's a questionable choice because it does make my infantry less good at capturing. But I also wanted to kind of block in that forest too. So it really works out pretty well for me. Bring up that mech and more guys. And I'm thinking he can't get an anti-airs to me any more easily. If he had one ready, it'll now be blocked with infantry in the woods pretty much, so he can't really kill my battlecopter with it. If he has more battlecopters, true, he could cause some problems, but I've got even more ones, so it's going to be okay. He does, of course, have a CO power now. He could use that to surprise me. But for some reason, he's not going to. I think this guy I just don't know what he was thinking, but he doesn't use his CO power. And like as adder, your only thing, basically, is that you have a really cheap, decent quality CO power that you can spam out super fast. So I'm just covering all my guys, bringing up even more guys. I built my first artillery here. I'm just thinking I have a good wall of people, and I just thought, it'd be kind of a good natural support to deal with things like tanks. I don't have enough good counters to currently. I'm not sure what I was thinking beyond that, because I really could use some more tanks myself. I've only got like 2, but I do like artillery, so I went for it. Alright, what will Dizon do this turn? I think he probably realizes that this
is up against the ultimate defense.
He does set up a good defense here. Both sides are kind of just... You know what this is like? It's like World War I, where Germany almost got to Paris, not quite, and then both sides go, oh, everything is going wrong. Let's start trying to circle around these guys, so they both start digging trenches, endlessly toward the ocean until they both hit the ocean. Both armies are doing that now, building up their defensive walls. Anthony built up his wall, now Dizon's building up his wall, and the walls just slowly expand over the course of the game as both build up down toward that lake in the bottom front, just like digging those trenches. Nobody wants to make the first move and get wiped out.
And No Man's Land is looking rough. And that was yours too. Well, I guess you have a little more forward momentum, but That wall is impressive. I think I have a little bit. I had the vision in the middle. He's now kind of impeding that a little bit. Every turn that he doesn't take back that city, it's a pro to me.
Yep.
And I'm fine just sitting on this until turn 25. It comes down to it.
So he gets I guess he's using them to scout, which is something, but it just these APCs were not worth it. Not even like one with what he's using it for. One could have been good if he used it well, but he didn't really. So here is a little bit afraid. I thought he's going to kill the infantry, then he can bring up an anti-air and attack me with his CO power, but he doesn't have an anti-air, so he couldn't do that. He did, and I respect this, build swarms of battlecopters like me, so like, man after my own heart, I'm building tons of battlecopters. But they don't really support each other very well right now. And again, he just throws another one, and I'm like, oh sweet, another battlecopter.
Oh.
And he skips building bases this
The one he
turn.
brought up. Battlecopter he brought up can't even. I'm sure he knows you can do the same exact thing you did the turn before his first strike, his helicopter. So it's
Like, he's covering himself kind of, but I guess maybe he doesn't know that I have 3 battlecopters. I guess he couldn't know that, but it's still just... This guy is super, super duper aggressive with everything all game long. And again, I'm an aggressive player. But this guy is crazy even by my standards, so I'm not... I think there's a limit to how aggressive you ought to be. You know, it occurs to me. The top front has 2 very tanky, stalling kind of players digging in. And the bottom front has 2 aggressive players just hammer each other in the face again and again and again. Very different strategies here.
just 2 different ways to play Hawk. But
So you're getting the better of him there with those engagements. You've got your tank pulled in to support your southern flank. And you're threatening the capture of him too. And you can also see his battlecopter for the first time here. So, you know, that kind of gives us pause, I think, because we know that we have 1 anti-air. It's going to be needed up top. Down below you have a battlecopter cover yourself, but that's not really quite as good. So, he does have kind of like a small window here where he could strike and we can't do a ton about it. But, you know, we've got good covers. The anti-air covers the whole top front more or less. The battlecopter covers, I think, all your bottom stuff perfectly. So there's not really a opening in your defenses. It's a good... You've done a good job there, I think. Okay, so I go for it with my already injured one, actually, just mostly the scout. And because I'm also thinking, true, I'll do a little bit more damage if I use my fresh one, but also I like to keep secrets and not reveal everything that I've got until it's too late for the opponent to do things. Over there in the bottom, I think I can keep fighting upstream against infantry. Every one he loses is an advantage to me. So I'm now getting perilously close to his HQ. And here I do use my battlecopter to take out a tank instead. Just every single engagement has gone against him in the bottom, more or less. He's lost tons of stuff, he's accomplished almost nothing. He's just collapsing at this point. He's got more things coming up, and I'm going to have a huge advantage numbers-wise. Like almost 2-to-1 pretty soon here, just because he's lost so much stuff. Yeah, the APCs are holding the line against the infantry pretty well, but they're not accomplishing anything. And I'm still not letting him have that capture. So he's at, I think I know now, 13,000 to my 16,000. So I know that I am like... Anthony and I are kind of ahead by comparable amounts of income against both of our opponents. So like, a tie favors us, or a stall favors us, but I still just see so many chances to get aggressive that it's worth doing, I think. I did make a mistake there. I mismoved that battlecopter and revealed it when I could have kept it secret. If I just moved it a little bit more carefully. But, it's okay.
I think I do the same with my battlecopter next turn too.
And I've got my first MB tank, rather slow to the party, but... So Deason's battlecopters, they're all kind of down in the south, which is, you know, I kind of understand him there, where he and I have airports that are not as well positioned as Anthony's and Rixer's for getting into the action fast. So his battlecopter there, you saw it move up there, so you know where it is roughly, and that's good for us. And he does have a good move in mind here, I think. But he also has done something dangerous, because he's just put his rocket into vision of you, didn't he?
with that mountain. Yeah,
5 spaces?
guess so.
Yeah, just barely in vision, which means he can attack you, but also means that you can see him. I guess he couldn't have hit it in the woods because you can see the approach to the woods, so you would see it go into them regardless. But it would have at least kept the rocket a little bit safer if he'd taken the time to do that. So Richards has his superpower, but he still doesn't use it because I don't understand what he's doing. I mean, admittedly, he doesn't have anything he could do with it.
You better enough. You can put like a little counter. How many turns Richter goes without using his superpower?
That's a good thought.
Put
Yeah.
a little counter somewhere like up here or something.
Mm-hmm.
1.
Like, I don't disagree with saving your super for a better turn sometimes, but he saves it so long, he's really wasting a lot of power that he just could be building him up. So he has a chance to hit me here, but he goes for infantry instead of going for the battlecopter, and I don't know. I worry that at this point I'm just dunking on a new player. Now, I am pretty new myself, but although I'm new, I think I generally know what I'm doing. I'm kind of an advanced beginner, maybe. Richards has played a bunch of games, but perhaps he's a beginner. I've got a big edge in the south. Dizon up north has a lot more experience than Anthony has. Anthony has a good strategy, and it's working for him. So, things are really turning our way pretty fast. So here, you have a good move here, I think. So his rockets there, you can see it, and it's only covered by 1 infantry, so you just walk up, and you're going to lose a tank here, but it's a worthwhile trade. Unlike what we were talking about before, with him attacking you, like, you can take out about 15,000 gold worth of rocket there, plus break his momentum for taking the city back all at once, at the cost of losing about 9,000 in infantry and tanks, so it is well worth it. So, everything he just spent like 5 turns building up just got ruined right there in 1 move. And take the opportunity to kind of get aggressive on the bottom front, try to capture his stuff, because he can't fight everywhere at the same time. As it turns out, he can, but it's a good thought. Just so many guys. Yeah, because like Dizon and oh, go on.
I was gonna say, and that was my revealing my helicopter there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
His guy on the mountain is able to. So, I was taking a playbook from the master here and just revealing a helicopter, just to kind of spook him a little bit. Pull him back a little longer there. And I get my rockets and more infantry.
Sounds good to me.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say just there's been so little fighting in comparison on your front against the Dizon. You two are both at not even 2 CO power bars filled up yet, even after that rocket engagement. That was like half of the fighting that's happened all game was that one little fight up there, basically. Whereas Richards and I, we're just like, we're going at it so hard. He's already got a superpower. I'm close to getting my CO power. It's cost as much as his super. Like, all kinds of crazy stuff happening in the bottom there. Okay, so this turn, I just keep interrupting his capture there. Break through his lines there. I establish a new line and start capturing his city. So at this point, I am really turning the income lead around against him. And he's going to be in deep trouble. Battlecopter goes down, advancing more guys. Mech breaks his APC. So his lines are in full collapse, more or less. I make kind of a mistake there, and I have to attack his infantry with my battlecopter. That was not great. I could have done a better move than that. But it worked out okay, at least. I kind of, again, I was having to make moves pretty fast here to not run out of my 5 limit per turn time. More battlecopters. So thinking I'm going to be able to reinforce Anthony soon, because I'm feeling like there's a stalemate developing up there. I can help break that stalemate. And on my side, I've got Richards where I want him. I'm taking his stuff now. I don't really need to push even harder. So he's able to take out your tank, and that's good. He's able to start capturing the city, and that's good. But, it's not great, and it comes at a terrible cost to him of having lost his rocket for pretty much nothing. He does stop your capture there, so he's able to accomplish that. Yeah, I think it's a good shot there. So, this turn, it went better for him than it could have, certainly. We could have given him, nothing to shoot at. I think I was kind of encouraging too much aggression because I'm a crazy player who's all about getting the opponent's face. I was always like, sure we could win the smart way, but what if we got a stupidly aggressive instead and we gave him things to shoot at? Wouldn't that be not as good but cooler? So, giving some questionable advice there, I think.
And
So he keeps up the attack. He never really pulls back. He never stops. He's relentless in his aggression, but just means he'll lose another tank. Did he reveal that rocket? I don't think he did. I think I can't see the rocket yet, but I'm going to be able to soon. And rockets, if any unit needs cover, a rocket needs cover badly. But I think I interrupted you before, and of course it's your turn now. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, the replay's a little strange with Advance Wars by Webb, but I think this is where he was messing up with some of the join captures. Is that this? I don't know how it shows up.
Oh, you're right. Rixers was doing
Yes,
that. He kept
later
doing
on.
like join captures in kind of the wrong order, where he was joining first, and then you can't capture. That uses up your turn. So send him a message after the game to explain to him how to do join captures, so he can use that next time. Hopefully,
Did he respond back, or
he didn't. Dizon did actually. Dizon later played like a one-on-one match after this. It went pretty well too. But he's quite a good player, I think. He really gave me a run for my money.
okay? Do you have that video coming up soon too, or is that just a?
I think that one's a little bit less interesting, and I made so many bad moves there myself that I think it's not worth showing. I want that one to just kind of be forgotten by history.
All right. This one here, the wall continues.
Mm-hmm. That is like, I don't even know what could attack into that wall and prevail. Pretty much nothing could possibly beat that. Like, it's so entrenched that there's no good means of attacking it that I can think of. He'll be forced to do so anyway eventually. I think maybe even next turn, but it's just not looking good for him.
I think next turn he starts. Yep. If the bombers come out, that's it's a sign of the end is near.
Yes, definitely. I think my thought here is you build a bomber, I'll build a fighter. Between us, we'll have the heavy air units kind of covered, and I'll be able to back you up if he builds a fighter to counter you. We'll see if we do that this turn or not. So I'm just capturing more stuff. I'm scouting him. I see, oh, he has an anti-air in his base. That's scary, but it's in the wrong place. That's so far from my battlecopters. I'm taking his stuff, so he's now at a big income disadvantage. Battlecopters again, just shooting whatever moves. I've revealed his rocket, and so there goes another rocket. I love rockets. I want to use rockets. I just can't justify it because they're too vulnerable and too bad most of the time. I want to use them, but I just can't justify it to myself. And now I'm in a position where I can shell his base. Anything he builds, I can fire out with my artillery. Unless he has a mech hidden in that forest, which he doesn't, as it turns out. That was a risk I was willing to take to just be able to just attack his bases.
So tank out.
Yep. I'm able to do that because he was doing that bad join capture. If he'd done it correctly, I would have been forced to divert the battlecopter to attack his infantry instead. My own wall here is getting pretty formidable. Just because, not because I was trying to build them, because I thought I have so many guys, I might as well build a wall. I think his poor guy's at number like 3-1 now or something crazy like that. Yeah. Okay, so Dizon, his rocket goes for it and just does some chip damage, but that's not what you build a rocket for. And here he goes. We knew we could do this a long time ago, but he finally has no choice but to go for it and sacrifice a battlecopter and anti-air to hurt but not kill your artillery. It's not looking good for him. And if you had done things your way, the smart way, he would have just lost all those units for basically nothing at this point. But I advise aggression because I'm always about aggression, and so it ended up being a little bit less of a shutout win for us than it could have been because I was talking about how we could attack him this turn. But it still works out okay.
Give away the ending yet. Well, short turn for Rixers, another
battlecopter.
Yeah.
And the anti doesn't even move away, so it just gets shot for nothing. I mean, it was hopeless at this point. No move we could have made would possibly have turned it around. But there goes another infantry. Yeah, there goes his anti-air shortly. There goes his battlecopter. There goes, the battlecopter taking out the anti-air. And here you took my advice, and my advice was bad. And went for the attack there. So there, the MD takes down in some serious trouble, and it shouldn't have been. It should have just been hiding out safely, and he'd be losing all those units for nothing. But I thought we can push ahead now. We can, sure, he'll get a CO power, but you can cancel that with your own CO power, and that will will ruin things for him. With Sasha, order matters a lot. If you use it while you have money, it does a lot to the enemy. If you use it while you have no money, it does nothing to them. And unlike most people who you want to use your superpower at the beginning of your turn, with Sasha, you often want to use it at the end, when you kind of build up their bar, and then you lower it back down to nothing. It's more efficient that way most of the time. But here, whereas if we'd been holding back, he wouldn't have any way to build his power bar back up, and you could easily just punish him for it again. Instead, because I recommend you get aggressive here, he can fight enough to get his CO power, which could have negated that all game long pretty much. So, again, I gave bad advice there. I recommended getting aggressive, and there's no need to do that.
We were at a point in the game where, save a couple turns, because in 2 turns you're going to be going north anyway.
Yes, that's true.
What it's looking like.
So I shell his anti-air on his base, I wreck his rocket, just all it's doing is melt away. And here I think I'm going to go for it. I don't know his anti-air down there. I think why would he have an anti-air down there? But he was smart, admittedly. He was prepared for my move here. He had an anti-air in position to stop my battlecopters rather than yours, because that's a good move. He was ready for me. But he's going to lose that guy. I'm going to start taking that city from him too. He's down to almost no value left. Taking that city from him. Everything is now mine, pretty much. And that's bad not just for him, it's also bad for Dizon, because now Dizon knows he's going to be fighting me with double income, coming up his southern front. The game is pretty much over for him at this point. Unless he can do some kind of epic breakthrough right now, on this one turn, he just doesn't have a hope of winning anymore. But he goes for it. He hits my battlecopter because I was too reckless with it. He shoots my battlecopter there. I'm not sure that's really worth it. But you get to take out your infantry there, I guess, yeah. And then he gets to attack your MD tank with a lot of stuff. It's a good turn for him. He gets a lot of damage done. It could have been like a total impenetrable wall, but instead he gets to wall up on that silo where it's hard to hurt him. He takes out your MD tank. It's... ignore that error message. If you just click, it'll go away, I think.
Go away?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. This guy's... There's nothing here.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He's dead.
Guy here, he's not actually there. Alien ghost.
And he's able to get his CO power. So we all get nuked down to 9 HP, and he gets healed up. So, yeah, he got a lot of good value that turn. It is a harsh turn for us, when it could have been just him suffering for nothing. I think I had imagined, when I was recommending you get aggressive, you could set up your own wall of infantry that would still kind of just move the wall forward, but that was not the way it was going to work out. It was not well thought through on my part. He builds himself a bomb, which is a good thing to break a stalemate with, for sure. And now it's Rixer's turn, and Rixer, he goes for the attack, but then he just quits, because he realizes, there's no chance anymore. So he resigns, leaving poor Dizon alone. So now we each kind of get one more turn, then it'll be Dizon's chance to react, pretty much. So on your turn, you're able to just take out his anti-air, so it's softened up, so now I can push in more easily. Your infantry have all the terrain bonuses, so you're winning this. Your bomber is able to go up there. Couldn't reach the MD tank, it was like one off from that, I think, so unfortunately the MD tank is safe for this turn. Safe except from battlecopters, that is, which are pretty efficient against MD tanks. Lots and lots of infantry versus infantry fights. Kind of re-establishing a new, more aggressive wall. So it worked, it just kind of worked more slowly than I thought it would. But we know this time that you can get more aggressive because now I have my superpower to help cover you. And that'll nuke him and it'll weaken him so he can't really break your walls anymore. So this is the turn when we should have gotten aggressive, not last turn. Alright, so I think for a while about whether to use it now or later, because you can use it to heal up your guys after fighting, but I just go for it at this point. So he just lost a huge chunk of value right there. All his guys get injured down to 8, my guys all get healed up, so it undoes his CO power on my side. Sadly it doesn't heal Anthony, but still pretty good. My fighter's now in position to lock down his airport. I don't know what he has, but I'll be able to reveal it next turn and attack anything on it, and then he just won't be able to use that airport anymore. Taking out his anti-airs with my battlecopters. And now he can't fight on all these fronts at the same time. There's just no way to do it anymore. Not with all his units injured and everything too. So Dizon, he fought valiantly. He did pretty well. He didn't scout well enough, I think, and he lost a recon for nothing, but he played well. I think he made mostly good moves. It's just that, I was winning too hard in the southern front and Europe to stalemate him on the top front, and that was our plan all along. So, it worked out really well for us.
Yeah. Want to go through the stats?
Oh yeah, I think the stats were insane.
You go through the stats at the...
I had like 100 and... No. I had tons and tons of kills. I think my kill value was more than everybody else combined, or something insane like that. 103,000... Because I did all the fighting, basically. The top front, there's almost no fighting going on. And, poor Orange wasn't really fighting me much successfully, so I think my kill value was something insane, like 100,000.
Yeah. He's on at 30.
This guy's got only 7,000.
7 grand for Rixers.
45,000.
Need 45,000.
So the south front is where the action was superficially. But the important stuff is going on in the north front, where you were able to, control the most dangerous opponent, negate his CO power so only mine was going to be used, and that really... It wasn't the dramatic front, but I think your front was the one where the game was won by just buying time for me to build up my superpower as we'd hoped for.
I think just the team comp, we had that too, because you would have gotten yours, even if it was a stalemate on both fronts, you would have got your superpower first. I would have been chipping down Diazon. Would have used yours, and I would have just jumped in those injured units. So I think from the start we had better team comp easy. I
think so too. Well, I thought it was a good game, a good first 2-on-2 certainly. I had no idea what to expect from it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I wish there was some way to I don't know, able to play against two other people that we also know are actually communicating.
Yeah, that could be good.
Looking at them going up after the southern northern kind of bases and not really expanding, westward. I don't know. I think a little part of them thought maybe the other opponent might be a little greedy, might take something.
That is possible.
That was the last base I took, was my southernmost city.
You're right about that. I didn't
take that.
We knew our sides were safe. We wouldn't need to fight our own ally. Not fight using attacks, but fight using getting people into cities first. We knew we'd get our own stuff basically. Yeah, teamwork definitely was the biggest factor here, I think. Well, I look forward to future games with you. It was definitely a fun game.
Yeah. I'll get back to the drawing board. We'll try to come up with a couple other combos, and I'm down to play some more. We'll take this on to the next level.
Sounds great. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Classic.
There we go. You're gonna love that. Wait for the comments. Wait for the comments on that one.
Thank you for watching, everyone, and a special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Illusory Thunder, Master Knight DH, Gregory, William Wakefield, Kenny Boggs, Danny Hall, Jeffrey Morse, and Advance Warrior, with whom I've done a few co-commentary videos since the original making of this one. I'll link those below so you can check them out if you'd like to. Have a great day, everyone.